Good morning. Today is the second day of the first Adar and the 11th of February. We're starting a new parsha, Terumah. Terumah is about the construction of the tabernacle. So in the next two parashot, Terumah and Tetzaveh, Moses is going to receive the instructions on how to build the tabernacle and all the vessels within it, as well as in next week's parsha, we will see the clothing of the priests and how they should be initiated into their service in the tabernacle. The parsha begins, this is the first parsha that begins, the first Torah portion that begins with the very famous phrasing, and Havaya spoke to Moses saying. So this is the first time that we see this statement, this phrase put together. This phrase is very well known because it's very common in the Pentateuch. It actually appears 70 times exactly. So it's a very common phrase. For something to appear 70 times is very rare. It's probably one of the few things that appear 70 times. But right away, this tells us that this is the beginning of what we call the 70 faces of Torah. That each one of the faces relates to one of the times that God spoke to Moses. So they allude, this statement, God spoke to Moses saying, is an allusion to the 70 faces of Torah. And by that we mean that each one of the faces of the Torah is a different way in which the Torah can be interpreted. There are 70 different ways. And because of that, the highest court, called the Sanhedrin, has, or the Great Sanhedrin, Sanhedrin Gdolah, has 70 judges, plus one. So where is the one? We only have 70. The one is called, he's called the Av Beit Din, he's called the head of the Sanhedrin, the father of the court, and he is the 71st. And indeed, there is only one more time that these words appear together as a phrase, except that this time it's the other way around. And there it says, and Moses said to God, saying, Vayomer Moshe, Vaydaber Moshe Lashem Leimo. And this is a very interesting thing, saying. The whole point of saying that appears at the end of the phrase, and God said to Moses saying, is that he's supposed to repeat it to someone. Indeed, he repeated everything that God told him, he repeated to the people. But what does it mean when Moses says to God, and Moses said to God saying, who's God going to repeat it to? It seems like that's the end of that's where the buck stops. Who are you going to say it to? So let's see where that happened. That happened that one time that we have the reverse phrase. Again, the point is, 70 times it says, God said to Moses saying, and one time it says the exact same words, just in a different order, Moses said to God saying. So we have 70 plus 1. The 1 refers, as we said, to the father of the court, the all-inclusive point of view of the Torah. And we'll get to this in a moment. What does that exactly mean? That there's 70 faces and then one all-inclusive face or one all-inclusive point of view on the Torah. So where was this said? We have to go a lot further ahead. This happened in Numbers 27, verse 15. There it says, Vaydaber Moshe Lashem Leimo. Moses spoke to God, saying, let God, source of the breath of all flesh, appoint someone over the community. And who is this? What is this someone going to be? He shall be someone who goes out before them and comes in before them, meaning he's always there, taking care of the community, going in and out before them, and who shall take them out and bring them in, and he shall also be responsible for their movements, so that God's community may not be like sheep that have no shepherd. What is this all talking about? This happened after the verse in which God says to Moses, God said to Moses, ascend these heights of Abarim, these are a name of a mountain range in Moab, and view the land that I have given to the Israelite people. When you have seen it, you too shall be gathered to your kin, just as your brother Aaron was. So Moses is being told about his upcoming passing from the world, and Moses' first worry, his first concern, is to ensure that there is continuity in leadership. That's his most important concern. If there's not going to be continuity in leadership, everything that he's done is going to fall apart. So what does he say to Hashem? So Moses said to God, saying, appoint a person over the community, one who will be able to understand the spirit of every individual and be able to lead the community, taking them in and out and so forth. So it's clear that that is the 71st, the all-inclusive point of view of the Torah, the all-inclusive point of view of the entire community. The reason that the Torah has 70 faces is because, or 70 interpretations as it were, is because people have different mindsets. They have different ways of seeing the Torah. They have different ways of understanding what it's saying. And so, even though all these viewpoints are given a voice in the Sanhedrin, there still has to be someone who is the Mufla Sanhedrin, he's called. He's called the wondrous one of the Sanhedrin, the father of the court. And he is the one who, before they even begin to discuss a topic, before they even begin to discuss whether it's a legal principle, whether it's a case that's been brought in front of them, whatever it is, the father of the court begins by speaking, and what he speaks is considered to be the all-inclusive viewpoint of the Torah, the general atmosphere of what this whole discussion is going to be around, and it's from him that these 70 points of view come out. He's actually the one responsible for them. Who was this? This was in Moses' time. That was Joshua. Joshua took over from Moses. And then in every generation, as we spoke about, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, we spoke about the extension of Moses into every generation. That when they came to believe in God and in Moses, or as God says to Moses at the beginning of Jethro that we saw, V'gam b'cha ya'aminu le'olam, that they will also believe in you forever. The point is not just to believe in the Torah forever, but to believe in Moses' presence in every single generation, that every single generation has an extension of Moses. And this is a beautiful correspondence between these 70 times that it says God says to Moses, and then one time Moses says to God, saying, what is he saying? Who is he saying it about? Saying, God, you say this to the person that you're appointing. You should say this to the person you're appointing, that he should know that he's my continuation, he's my extension. He's the person who will be the all-inclusive viewpoint of all of Torah in his generation. Now, we want to look at something further, and this will go back to our whole topic. This is the month of the first Adar, and as we said, that the first Adar is the incalculated month. It's the month that we add, and we said on Friday that in every 19-year cycle we add 7 years that have a 13th month. So there's a 13th month 7 times every 19 years. Our Parsha Terumah, is the 7th Parsha from the beginning of Exodus, Shmos, and it's also the 19th Parsha from the beginning of the Torah. So what do we have here? We have these 2 numbers, and these numbers, 7 and 19, are called the secret, or the mystery, if you want to make it more academic, the mystery of incarnation, Ibur. Ibur is like a type of incarnation. Why do we call it incarnation? Because Ibur can mean, first of all, impregnation. Like this year that has a 13th month is called a pregnant year. called it Shana Me'uberet. Shana Me'uberet means that it's pregnant. What is it pregnant with? It's pregnant with the 13th month. It's bigger than the other years. That's one way of thinking of it. But what we just saw is that the Parsha begins with this idea of like the extension of Moses, which is also called an impregnation or an incarnation of Moses in every single generation. So we have these two things coming together, that the extension of Moses is like Moshe being impregnated, his soul being impregnated into the leader, the all-inclusive point of view on Torah that is in every generation. So our Parsha, again, is the 7th from the beginning of Exodus and the 19th from the beginning of the Torah, the entire Torah. So we have these two numbers are called the secret of the impregnation, or the secret of the Ibul, of the incarnation. What years are pregnant in the 19-year cycle? So today we'll see the numbers. It's the 3rd and 6th, 8th, 11th, 14th, 17th, and 19th. That's 7 years out of the 19. So again, it's 3, 6, 8, 11, 14, 17, and 19. So that's a very interesting thing, that these are the numbers. What happens when I put these numbers together? If I take them together, I get 3 plus 6 plus 8 plus 11 plus 14 plus 17 plus 19 gives me altogether 78. And 78 is, all numbers are important. They all mean something. But beautifully, what it means is the triangle of 12. Triangle of 12 means the sum of numbers from 1 to 12. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11 plus 12 equals 78. It's also the value of bread. And there's a very beautiful kavana and intent from the Arizal that we dip the bread into salt 3 times. Why 3 times? After we break the bread, when we're eating a meal, so we dip it inside the salt for 3 times. First of all, bread and salt in Hebrew are the same letters. Bread is lechem, and salt is melach. They're the same letters. But what the Arizal notes is that 78 is also 3 times 26, or it's 3 times the value of God's essential name, Havaya, which is equal to 26. And so when we put the bread into the salt, what we're thinking about is we're saying that it's as if we're mentioning God's name, which equals 26, 3 times. And that's the connection that we're making. But now let's carry this one last step further. There's a lot more to do, but we'll just do one more step. What if we take these numbers, 3, 6, 8, 11, 14, 17, and 19, and look at which parashot, which Torah portions this corresponds to? We already know the 19 is Terumah, our Torah portion. The 17th Torah portion was Jethro. The 11th was Va'era. The 14th was Va'era. The 11th is Vayigash. The 8th was Vayishlach. The 6th was Toldos. And the 3rd was Lech Lecha, which is usually just called Lech. A lot of people call it Lech Lecha, but that's how it's supposed to be written. And the beautiful thing that comes out of this is that if you take the names of these 7 parashot together, you receive 7 times Mashiach ben David. It's known that the secret of the Mashiach is always related to an impregnated year. And there's a tradition that is the type of year in which the Mashiach comes, and with this we'll hopefully strengthen ourselves that it should be this year, it should be speedily, and no better time than this week, no better time than where we're holding right now. Have a good week, everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye.